Welcome back to Pour Over Marketing. I'm Rob Southgate, and got my hair's cut. Hopefully, looking a little less scruggy than I was. Okay, so I have some things planned for today, but I'm really hoping that we have some questions because I feel like each time I do this, I'm doing essentially like a webinar, and that wasn't the intention of this show. This was supposed to be just open dialogue, hanging out, having coffee, talking about marketing questions, and getting things answered. So hopefully, once we get some viewers in here, we'll have some questions. If not, we may not get viewers too. I don't know. I tried an experiment this week with how it was marketed, and we may be sitting here by ourselves. We shall find out. In fact, I could do part 2 of that experiment while we're sitting here. So what I did was, when I scheduled this, I wanted to see if people put it on their calendar, if they showed up, or if they needed to be reminded. Now, I've talked before about how I've noticed that when I promote it in the immediate, it tends to like in the immediate, I shouldn't say it that way. If I start promoting it on, say, Thursday before I'm doing it, it tends to get more followers, more viewers. It's weird because the shows where I didn't promote it, I didn't have as many viewers here, but when I watch who watched it later on the Facebook feed, it goes up exponentially. So this week I tried something a little bit different. I thought, when I scheduled this, I scheduled these out almost a month ago. And I thought, let's see what happens. If I put it out there, I promote it, and then I leave it. I wanted to see if I get people viewing, other than my mom, which I have a feeling my mom is the lurker that's in here. So that was an experiment. Let's see how it pays out. Regardless, I have a plan for today. I have some things I want to talk about. So even if we don't get viewers, if we don't get questions, I have a lot I want to talk about. So, we've already got a couple of people in here, so this is good. And look, it is going live on my different things, so hopefully that will be enough to trigger people, to get them going. Okay. And let me get the link for you guys that I'm going to make a copy of and put in our chat. Okay. So I've been doing a lot of different things, as I have explained before. I've been working on this marketing. We'll now call it a manifesto, because it's grown to a ridiculous point, because I'm trying to treat it like I'm talking to aliens. I may have talked about this last week, but I don't care. I'm going to talk about it again. When you are trying to describe something, especially a how-to in marketing or in business, you're trying to get people to, manage people. You want to, especially if you don't know them, if you're not already of the same language. For example, when my wife and I work together, if we're doing something like a social media audit, I have to really explain every little detail. If we're doing a brainstorming session and I say, here's what our goal is, I don't have to explain it any further than that, because she is all over it. She's got it. We have a language together where we know, if she says this, I know what she means, off we go. But when you're dealing with a team that's not somebody that you've worked with a million times or are married to, you sometimes have to go through it like they're an alien. So if I'm asking her for a social media audit, I have to treat it more like she's an alien, where I go, it's this, 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 this. There's a thing that I've been through a few times in different marketing classes, and I actually use it as a teaching method sometimes, where it's the peanut butter test. I bring in a jar of peanut butter, a knife, and a loaf of bread and say, okay, I am an alien. I need you to tell me how to make a peanut butter sandwich. And inevitably, people say, Put the peanut butter on the bread. I'm an alien. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. They have to describe things in a way that make me understand. Open the lid. Take the long skinny thing. That is a knife. Take the knife and dip the tip of it into the peanut butter, push down a little bit. Now scoop it out. You have to be like that detailed. So as I'm writing this, otherwise aliens aren't going to get it, and that's what you're dealing with in general, unless it's somebody that's speaking the same language as you and has worked with you. I mean, you don't have to dummy it down. I mean, that was ridiculous. Like they're going to know what a knife is, but you want to make it easy for people to go, I got it. So today I want to talk about doing a social media audit, and we're going to dummy it down a little bit. Here's the deal. Everybody watching this, I assume you are some type of entrepreneur, you're trying to market something, you're trying to learn about this stuff, you think you're going to be marketing something, or you want to use like some of these tactics to have a fun Thanksgiving where you invite your family and you want to use some marketing tactics to make it kind of a fun experience. Okay, whatever it is, you're doing something. Okay. Chances are really, really, really good that in that something you are using some form of social media. And this is not a social media exclusive show, so I hope you guys don't get that impression if you're new to the show. This is just what we're going to talk about today. So it's really wise to do a social media audit every so often. And that I don't have to explain. I know you guys know what an audit is. But do you know what to look for? Do you know what the purpose is? So I've got an example here. I'm gonna stop talking and pull it up because I want you to see. I went to Hootsuite. I had made my own. I'd made a very basic one for my audit. What I did was I said, okay, what are the different platforms and how many uh, people are in there? You know, how many followers versus people I follow, uh, things like that. And then I thought, you know what? I bet there's a much better way to do this. And lo and behold, I was right. I found an actual, there we go. I went to Hootsuite and I typed in social media audit, and they had a free guide and a free template. This is the free template. And I have, in what I do, I've adjusted it, I've changed it some. But it's a great way to get started. So here you go. You can see at the bottom, it's got the summary. That's here where it's got all the different platforms. Okay. You can add platforms as well. So when you're talking social media, I mean, you've got Instagram, TikTok, X, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Pinterest, YouTube, Threads. In fact, I believe the original one, this is one that I adjusted, did not have TikTok, did not have Pinterest, YouTube, or Threads on it. Okay. You could do this with your podcast. You could do this with your blog. Okay. Just you're doing an audit to see where you're at, if you're doing it, what is effective, what isn't effective. Okay. So, things you want to know. Here we go. Instagram. What network is it? Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. What's your author name? Uh, this is if you're doing an audit. Like if I'm doing an audit for Four Horsemen, I would want to put in what the author's name is. Okay. That's why it says author name. It was one I was doing for Four Horsemen. It could be, it doesn't matter. If it's not you, or if it's not one specific person you're doing it for, if you've got a group of them, you want to put name of the person here. Then you put their handle underneath that. Okay. This is part of the audit. So if their handle, let's say their name is I don't know, Hope Squirrel. Okay. There's a name. That's their name, Hope Squirrel. Okay. They are an artist. And their handle is at on Instagram is at 1467 underscore HS underscore TTT17. Put that on here. Why? Because it's going to tell you they need a new handle. That's a terrible handle. But if you're looking across all of these and you see every one of these Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, or all these ridiculous handles, they don't tie back to the name, they don't make any sense, then you know, hey, part of my audit is we need to rename these. Okay. Channel owner, once again, if it's you, it's you. You know, if you're dealing with, like if I'm doing it for Chicago Podcasters Unite, I would put whatever podcast network they're part of in here. Okay. Is it verified? Is it somebody who has the little blue check mark? Now, this is something that I don't really care about, but hey, it's information. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Do they have a mission statement on there? So let's see if I have an example. This is also your bio, right? Aha, I can share this. Oh, there it is. Okay, it's showing you. For Writers Row, the goal of Writers Row is to attract new customers to your convention and bring authors to their fans. There you go. There's our mission statement. I copy it, I put it in here. It might be your bio. Some people use that there. It's whatever is in that top segment of their social media. Not all of them have that. Okay. But if they have one, put it in here. Why are we doing that? We want to see if it's connected across all the different formats. We want to see if it makes sense. As you're doing all your marketing stuff, does it align? Right? Because that gets really important. You may have started this thing back when everything mattered about this social media account, and you've moved on to realize, well, wait a minute, I don't make my business is not made in Instagram. I use that as a tool. My mission is now, educating through YouTube. So you want to put that in there so that people understand why they're interacting with you on Instagram or TikTok or Facebook. Okay. KPIs, this is the kind of thing that here, let's go back to me. I know that on average you're thinking, well, I don't need to know KPIs. With it. KPI is a key performance indicator. Okay. It helps you make better decisions if you understand the key performance indicators. Let's see if I can pull up I'm seeing if I have a KPI thing here. Here's a little article. Where is this? This is on Geeks for Geeks. I'll put this in here. Here's a good one. This really explains it all. Okay, this is what a KPI is. Okay, so this is from a blog. KPIs are important tools for measuring how well a company, project, or activity is going. They provide a clear and measurable data to track progress, find areas that need improvement, and make important decisions. So when you're doing your social media, look and see, does it match? What are the key things that you're looking for, and write them in here. What are the indicators? So if the key performance indicator is a threshold of engagement, you write that in here. What are the things that are key that we are looking for here? That what makes it really easy when you're doing your audit, that you can go back and say, well, you know what? I see all these different things. I see number of posts and I see their profile picture and I see all this, but those don't matter. I'm trying to get newsletter subscribers. That's where you put it. Then you've got, let's go back to this thing. Ooh, a new way. No, I think I like this one better. No, I think I like this one better. There we go. Number of posts. So I don't do it. I do it differently than here because it kind of more matters what you do in a month. Okay. So I would say for the month of September, we're here at the end of the month. How many posts did we do in that month? If it's one, then you know you probably need to do more. And your key performance indicator might be something where you say minimum of 2 posts per week. And then you look down at number of posts and it is 1 post every 4 weeks. Okay. Your audit's telling you right there, we need to do something different. Frequency of posts. This is important too. So I just gave you one where it's, 1 in a month, but now maybe go out 6 months and say, how often am I posting or is this person posting? I was looking at one person's number of posts, and they had a flurry of activity as their product was coming out. It was about 10 posts in a month. And then it dropped off to nothing. And then there was 2 posts randomly last month. And I was like, okay, so how do you put in number of posts? Well, you could put in number of total posts. You could put in that I mean, if I happen to look at it as a single month, that month that they did a flurry of activity, I'd be like, oh my God, frequency of posts 3 times a week. But if I look at a 6-month view, it's wow. I would change that to rarely because it's not consistent. This, I think, is really important. Top content. Look and see, and I do this for ours, right? What got in the most engagement? What got the most comments? What got the most likes and hearts? That's where you get some real information. That helps because you want to write down what it is. You want to write down anything you can about what that top content is. Once again, we're going back to describing it to an alien. Is it a meme with text on the meme? Is it something with a link? Is it a picture? Is it a non-picture? Does it have video? As much detail as you can give. What is the type of thing that is your top content? And maybe if this is something that this is somebody who's consistent with it, you're kind of doing this thing. You've gone 6 months or you've gone 2 months. We'll even cut it back. We'll go 1 month of working your social media. And you go back and you say, okay, what's the top content? And you see that on Thursdays, I post a video, Throwback Thursday, and it's got, rerun from, what was the name of the show? What's Happening? And he's dancing in the corner and it's showing, whatever. But every Thursday, it's rerun Dancing in the Corner, Throwback Thursday, and I have some kind of, thing. And that, for some reason, gets shared and gets the most comments. Okay, describe that. Because if it just says meme, Throwback Thursday meme, that doesn't tell you anything. It's the ones with rerun Dancing in the Corner that for some reason explode for you. So you want to say, what is the top content? Or what type of content is my top content? Because it may be something even less specific as what I just said. It may be that anything I put on Thursday is where my top content is, especially if I do memes. If I do blog posts on Thursdays and I have an ongoing blog post, that goes across multiple things and that dies on Thursdays, but everything else works on Thursdays, this is where you write that. On their page, do they have their contact information listed? Super important, right? Is it there? And this can be the kind of thing, like I was just looking at Instagram there, and it's a little trickier to do that. Some of them, it's really easy. Like Facebook, you can have a couple of different things that they can click on. This is where you go, okay, do they have it listed? And I would also put, what is it? What do they list? Now, here's what's interesting to me. When I was doing these audits, what I found was a very effective way to do it, if you can only put one thing, is to make a link tree to put all of your stuff in the link tree. So it does have that one extra step, which we always want to try to reduce steps. But if you only have one you can do and you do more than one thing, put a link tree. They click on the link tree and it's got whatever your most popular. Do it in order. You want them to click on in order. Newsletter sign up, YouTube channel, Facebook, Instagram, whatever, and then you get into your articles or whatever else you want to put in your link tree. So you're using your link tree as if it's a social media point. Okay. Maybe you don't want any of that. You just want to put your email. Is it there? Say that what's there. Description of banner or header image, if applicable. This is harder. This is more if it's yours that you're going to find it, but you can do a little research on this. Depends on the site, because I was having trouble. I can't remember which ones, but you know how you float over the header. You float on the header, and it'll come up with some alt text. When you first put like a header on Facebook, it'll say alt text underneath it. Put a description of what they're seeing in that header. The cover for the latest book by blank, and then the name of the book. Why do you do that? For search engine optimization. That alt text is one of the things it looks for, that Google looks for when it's trying to figure out where to put you in its index. Okay. So you want to say, does it have that? And if it doesn't have some description, you're going to need it. So just put in there, no, does not have it, or cannot tell, because some of these you can't, it doesn't do an alt text and you click on. But when you go in and you change your image, you can add one, typically a description and an alt text image, or an alt image text, image alt text. It took a while. I got there. Okay. Same thing. Description of profile picture. Profile pic of Rob Southgate in a green sweater with a beard. That's it. Headshot. Molly Southgate. Age 17. Professional actress, writer, and LARPer. Description. Right? Bio and hashtags. Once again, important. We're talking SEO, even on your social media. Is there a bio? When we look back at this, now we've got our mission statement up here, but you have more room. You can put things in here. Some of them, it's a click on it and you get the bio. Some of it, it's this. And you can just put your bio information in here. Some of it, it's both. Mission statement followed by bio. That's my favorite type. Also, you want to put some hashtags in there if you can. One thing that I do before I do that kind of thing is I Google it. Do hashtags in my bio do anything on Instagram? Do hashtags in my bio do anything on LinkedIn? Do hashtags in my bio do anything on TikTok? See what it says. Because it changes all the time. Yeah, I know it seems weird. It seems like, well, Rob, you should know that. I don't. I have to look every time, because 1 month it works on Instagram. The next month, maybe they change it, once a year. Maybe they don't change it. But when they change it, they don't make a big announcement. Now you can't use hashtags. It just happens. Algorithm changes, and they change algorithms all the time. Sometimes they don't want the hashtag up there. It used to be for Instagram, like hashtags, it used to be the number 17 was the magic number. You wanted to get 17 hashtags in there. You do 17 hashtags now, and you look kind of spammy. People don't like it. They have a limit to the number of hashtags. Well, if you've got 10 hashtags up in your profile, and then you've got 17 hashtags on each post, it doesn't bode well for you as far as how the algorithm places you, how you get in front of people. You know how you're on Instagram or you're on Facebook and it'll suggest other people. If you're not following those kind of things, you don't end up in those suggestions as often. So always look at that kind of stuff. Can I use hashtags? Are they worthwhile putting in there? It'll tell you. Uh, most recent post. I don't care what it is. Describe the most recent post. If you're like, oh my God, it's embarrassing. Well, then why did you post it? Describe your most recent post. Number of followers versus number you're following. This is another one that's really important. Now, there are all sorts of schools of thought on this. Some people, social media people and that I talk to, say you should have next to nobody that you're following and have it all be followers. I don't agree with that. But I do see, like, if you're a Nabisco and you have an Instagram account, there's no reason you should be following anybody else. But if you're Dave Stewart, the artist, well, yeah, follow other artists because that following is part of the community. Hopefully they'll follow you back. Hopefully your content is interesting. They'll want to share it. Now it's sharing with their audience. You're sharing theirs. If you're out of line and you're following 20,000 people and you have 150 followers, well, that can look funny. But you know what? Maybe you're just starting. Maybe you don't know how to grow that. Maybe it's all bots. There are programs. There used to be a great one for Twitter called Tweet Scrub. It was free. Last time I checked, it cost money and it sucked. I tried it and I was like, oh, it's terrible now. As soon as they charged you for it, it was terrible. But it used to be great. You would run an audit on your followers on Tweet Scrub. And I know that, like, I think Hootsuite does this. I think there's some other ones that do this. Or I know there are. And what it'll do is it'll give you an audit of your followers. And what it'll say is, yeah, let's go to that. Get the comments open. What it'll do is it'll say 5,000 followers, 5,000 you're following. Okay. Of the 5,000 that are following you, it'll say these are active. These are people that, in the last 6 months, or it'll tell you active 6 months ago, active 3 months ago, active this month. And you go like, okay, well, they're not interacting with me. It's been 6 months. Now you can make a decision. Do I want to keep them? If they've never been active, they could be just farming for follows, follow for follow. It's a bot. It follows you. You follow it. Now it has you as a follower, and it makes it look like it has more power. Then it can go and they can try to get advertising or whatever through their thread, even though what they're offering is not real. Maybe it's an individual that's just trying to siphon off of your followers. If they're not interacting with your stuff, they just go in and they never post, they never do anything. Check it out. See if that's what it is. It doesn't mean that everyone's going to interact with you. If you're following 1,000 people, it doesn't mean you're going to go in every month and follow or click on things, but you may scroll through their stuff and occasionally put a like. Okay. You can tell that from Tweet Scrub. I could tell who are the real ones and who are the fake ones. Maybe not definitively, but you'd get probably 80, 85% accurate. Well, I'll take that. The 85% accurate are the ones I drop. Get them out of your feed. I did an audit one time. We had, I think we had about 7,000 followers on one of our accounts. And when I ran it through Tweet Scrub, it was just loaded with bots. And after I scrubbed everything out of there, we went down to about 2,000 followers. It didn't look good as far as the amount of activity, but man, my activity as far as like the next month, what people were clicking on that was way up. Way up. We cleaned house. So that's one of the reasons you do these audits. Now, another reason that we do the audit in general, and it takes a while. If you're in multiple places, if you have Twitter and Instagram and YouTube and all these different places, Snapchat, whatever, and you can fill all this stuff out, it'll start to give you a clear picture of where people are interacting with you, where your content game is good and where it isn't. If you hate LinkedIn and you never post anything to LinkedIn and your numbers are terrible on there, okay, make a decision. Are we going to stay on LinkedIn? Do I care if it gets the activity? Is there something I can do differently where maybe I post the same thing to the 4 that I don't like? I don't like using Twitter and LinkedIn and Instagram, let's say. So I take content that I create for Facebook and I just dump it over to those. It's putting content in. It's going to make that number of when your last post was and what you were posting and all that go way up because it's going to look better. Okay. So maybe that's what I do. I make them secondary. They're getting the same content, recycled content, but that's okay because there are people there. They are interacting with it. If they start actually interacting, when we do the next audit, we can go, oh, wait a minute. There are people here that are responding. I may hate Twitter, but they're responding in Twitter. So maybe I need to add a strategy where I do something unique for Twitter once a week. What are they interacting with? Maybe it's nothing. That tells you something. Maybe then you go, well, you know what? I do want to make my Twitter thing a little bit stronger. What can I do? For the show TTRPG Insider, one thing that was working, speaking of Twitter, I wasn't really getting activity on there. It's really good for gaming. But when I was marketing a podcast about gaming, I didn't see a lot of activity. When I did a kind of an analysis of it, I said, okay, well, what am I doing over here? It's like, well, really what I'm creating is content that I would use in a Facebook group. So I started looking at the other Twitter accounts that were having activity. And I said, what are they doing? Well, the biggest thing is it was all community based. They participated in Follow Friday. What are you working on Wednesday? They did stuff like that. Behind the scenes Monday or something. I can't remember what it was. So I just did that. I picked like 2 or 3 a week, simple post. And then I'd go in and I would also, and this was what worked, I found if I followed accounts that were posting these questions, they were following back, and then their followers started following me. And it built up audience. Did I care about doing anything on there? Not really, but I was like, but it's an active area. Why is it not working for me? And then I realized it is how that particular slice of the pie works there. I grew it some. It worked. That's why you do one of these audits. Do you need everything on this audit? Maybe you don't. Maybe you're going to get in there and you're going to get all excited and you're going to start doing it for your Facebook page and you get 4 things in and you go, wow, I found an error, and you make that change and you're out. Okay. That's okay. You're not working for a company where you need to do an audit, but if you're working for a company, you've got a client or the client is your business, not just my hobby business, but like a business that you're like, I'm all in. This is how I make my money. You better be doing an audit to see where you're at and what you're doing once in a while. And these audits work for other things too, but I'm just doing specifically social media today. You can take it and apply it to, let's say, your newsletter. It's going to be different. You don't have the same type of following and all that. But what if you did that and you said, okay, I know I put my newsletter, I push it out not only through email, but also through Facebook and Instagram. Okay, run an audit on it. Check it out. Does any of this get any activity on those places? Well, maybe I need to A/B test it and change the image or what I say as the headline on those. Does my when I look at my headlines in the newsletter, do I need to A/B test and find out, hey, when I put emojis on, more of them get opened? Or maybe less. I think I told this story. I was following what the experts were saying as far as posting time for your newsletter. And when you look at MailChimp, MailChimp will tell you, I love using MailChimp. It'll tell you all the information you need, like as far as opens, engagement, blah, blah, blah. When did people click on it? And when I followed what the experts say as far as time to send your newsletter, I was doing all right. The average was like 8% open, and I was doing like 23% open. And then the one day I was like, you know what? I have a different thing I want to send out. I'd been A/B testing subject lines. It's having an effect. Then I went, okay, I'm going to try a different time. Experts say, lunchtime isn't good. People are having their lunch, not reading your newsletter. They're flipping through Instagram at lunchtime. And I thought, but I'm going to send it at 11 o'clock on a Tuesday. And I had a headline that I thought would be catchy. And I went up to like 54% open rate. Experts, what they were saying didn't apply. It was my audience, where they were when they interact with it. And what I figured out is the audience that I was going for, the slice of the pie that I wanted, was bookstores and librarians. And what I figured out is they read at lunch. So the experts are talking about the general populace. At lunch, they flip through Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat. For longer form media, they don't. You hit them later in the day or you hit them real early in the morning. And for the audience that I was going for, which was librarians and bookstores, it's a segment in our thing. When I went at 11 o'clock, they must be going to lunch. They get the thing and they go, oh, I'll look through their catalog. I'll look and see what they're saying. Ooh, this is interesting. Click. It is important to pay attention to that stuff. There's nothing wrong with looking at what the experts say, what the data says, and following that, but then try other things and see if it moves the needle, see if it changes things. For the newsletter that goes out to the libraries and bookstores, 11 o'clock in the morning on Tuesdays and Wednesdays is magic. Any other time, it gets lost. I mean, you got something new, you get excited. It's 5 o'clock at night. You're like, oh, I'll send it out. It gets lost. Or they see it and they don't go back to it. I mean, we all do that, right? But you hit them at 11 o'clock. There's another thing you can do in your audit is watch your own behavior. This has been beneficial to me. I get a lot of newsletters. Which ones do I click on? Which ones don't I click on? When do I click on them? I've found that most of my newsletter reading happens in the morning. I like to have coffee, sit down, flip through and look through the newsletters. That's when it happens. At noon, I mean, throughout the day, you kind of flip through things. What do I go at noon? What do I look at? Do I open Instagram or do I open Facebook? Do I open both? Which one's a wasteland? Do you ever go to Snapchat? I don't. Not ever. Okay, well, that tells me something. Maybe 56-year-old dudes aren't looking at Snapchat. Maybe it's a demographic thing. Maybe it's an ease of use of the format. Maybe I don't see engaging content on there and I want to change that. I don't know. Do you remember when Vine got really hot for a while? That was before like Vimeo and TikTok. Vines got really hot for a while. And that was one where I noticed I wasn't interacting with Vines. There was something that everyone's talking about it and it just wasn't capturing me. That was me. But man, it captured everybody's attention for a while. TikTok got it right. They fixed what for whatever reason didn't work for me with Vine. With TikTok, I don't go all the time. I've noticed there are people that live on there that love it. I think it's great, but as soon as I get the wrong talk going, you accidentally spend a little too much time watching a talk and you go, oh, great. I wanted stuff about books and nerdy sci-fi. And instead, I've got shoes because I happen to look at a Puma ad. And now my whole thing is shoes. But watch your behavior. How do you interact? What do you do? When? How? Because your audience is that way too. Are you a lurker? Okay, you're a lurker on some things for sure. So if you're a lurker, what makes you become not a lurker, or is it all right? And if you're a lurker, know that other lurkers are out there and let them be. On this show, I get lurkers all the time. I get people that tell me they watch it that I don't see on the counter, but they've watched it and they can tell me things about it. Then I realize, oh, they're watching it later, or they pop in for a few seconds, they lurk, then they're out. Do I want people to stay and watch the entire thing? Yeah, it definitely helps me. But at the end of the day, do I care if it's lurkers and then they watch it, somebody watches it later? No, not really. Just makes it harder. I have to filibuster. Wasn't the idea of the show. I said that at the top of the show today. I wanted to just answer questions and hang out and show this little thing about an audit. And here we are, 41 minutes in, and I have not been able to stop talking. So I'm really thinking about changing the format of this a little bit too. I might make the show shorter. I watched a webinar this week all about online classes, how to do them. Because for me, I mean, I teach in class, I teach online. It should make a lot of sense to start making these as classes. And it was really interesting when I watched this. She gave away a little bit. In the hour that she was giving away, she gave away about 5 to 10% of what I give away every Saturday on here. Then you move into the funnel where she charges. And she does webinars, and she does seminars, and she does blah, blah, blah. And I went, you know what? If we were doing AMAs, which is what this is intended to be, it'd be great. But when it's me teaching for an hour, I think I'm going to have to make a change and maybe do like a 10-minute teaching and then just a conversation. Because it's fair for people to charge for their knowledge and for what they do. And I feel like I tend to give everything away, and I feel like I'm watching this going, okay, compared to what other people that do what I do are doing, I'm just giving it away. I'm the guy in the corner just handing it out, and they're selling their pizza in their shop. What am I doing wrong? So maybe I'm going to change the format up a little bit. Doesn't mean I'm going to make it so you guys have to pay for everything. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to put a barrier to entry. What I'm trying to do is be logical about my value. And this is something for you too. I mean, think about it. When we're talking about this marketing, we're talking about all the things we've talked about from the beginning. We're talking about imposter syndrome or whatever it is. A lot of it comes down to your value. You deserve to make money for your knowledge, your expertise, for the things you do. Right? So I write to Bruce. He's one of the guys that's in here quite a bit. I mentioned car detailing because that's what he has. He has a car detailing business. And I use that as an example a lot just because it's like, yeah, you can be, most people that think of this think it's going to be artists and writers and that, but he's car detailing. And what I'm teaching applies, right? He gets a lot out of it. And I was thinking about him with all this. I would not pull my car up and say, hey, man, oh, you're doing a free thing with car detailing. I wouldn't pull it up and expect him to detail my car, right? Maybe he sprays something on your wheels and scrubs it down. There's his freebie. But if you want your car detailed, you're going to pay him. And this week or two weeks ago, I had something on our seats in our new car. And I'm like, I can't figure out how to get this out of here. So I wrote him and I said, hey, man, you're a car detailer. I have a question. And he wrote back with an answer. I was super thankful. That's how you do it. I asked him a question. He had an answer for me. Expert opinion. Bam. I did it. It worked. Guess who I would go to get my car detailed? That guy. If he was giving it away, it's devalued him. And I'd go to him until he said, I want to charge for I want to start charging $10 for car detailing. And then I'd be like, I'll find somewhere else. Or I'm not going to bother. But if up front it was like, hey, I give away this, and then there's a charge, it adds value to it. And I think that's what I have to start figuring out with this, how to add value without taking it away, because I really do like doing this. I do think that it's really informative, and I love teaching you guys, obviously. I think the AMA is really, and that's on me. I got to figure out how to foster that to get more people asking questions, you know, because then we can just pour it out all day. Drink coffee, ask questions. By the way, today I'm using my Collectivo mug. I love this mug. I love Collectivo coffee. They're out of Wisconsin. It's absolutely delicious. Big shout out to Collectivo. This morning I saw that mug in there and I was like, I got some. Let's have some. This would be awesome. It's good. Just really good. Uh, there you go. There you go. That's what I'm thinking. So what about you guys? I see there's somebody watching. Do you have questions? Did you notice anything with your marketing this week? Did you notice, like I ask my students all the time about integrated marketing. I'm like, did you notice anything? And once a month, somebody raises their hand. I'm asking you guys, was there anything you noticed in marketing this week that maybe you wanted to apply to what you do? Or maybe you don't. Maybe it was a terrible idea. You know, maybe there's a branding thing you saw or not. I'm not going to sit here in silence either. Mm. We went to a concert this week and I had a marketing note. We went and saw a band. The headliner was The National. It was supposed to be a co-headline, but it was an opener was The War on Drugs. And then they had a third opener. The first band that came out was called Luscious. Luscious had it going on. They had a marketing plan. They did branding. Luscious is essentially, there's a full band up there. They were all dressed in white, flowing outfits. And the two lead singers, these two women, powerful, great voices, really, really fun, cool music. They wear these long, flowing white robes that look like ethereal. It's really wild. And they're dynamite, right? The stage was, I mean, when you're an opener, you have to use whatever stage setup the headlining band has without all their lights and everything. So they just used white light that was coming up, around, and down on them. So it was a very minimalist look with these flowing robes. They created this really cool visual that there was a stage picture that they did very simply out of white light. I mean, very simple. And then these flowing robes. And it just was really striking. Hey, good morning, Michael. Uh, Next band comes out, War on Drugs, and people were excited to see them. I knew one song, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I like them." Well, turns out I don't. They felt to me like a bar band playing rehashed '70s music. I'm like, "Oh, is this the B-sides of a Jackson Browne album?" That's how I felt. I know people love them. Sorry, music hits people differently. This one did not hit me. Didn't connect. But from a visual branding perspective, that also fell flat. They did some light show stuff, but they really looked like a bar band that got to play on stage and use the headliner's lights a couple times. That's how it felt to me. Even the way they were dressed. The Luscious was in these white robes. I mean, it was like striking. You remember exactly what they looked like. This guy was up there in jeans. Uh, he looked like he could have, like I said, he could have been a roadie for a band at a local bar and then got to go up as the guitar tech and he played a couple of songs. That's what it looked like. So it's like I didn't walk out of there going like, "Oh yeah, that was branding was on point and all that." It just wasn't there. And I didn't like the music really. Then the National came out and it all changed. Uh visually stunning. The sound was on point. And yeah, your headliner gets to dictate some of that. So once again, no strikes against stuff where you're not the headliner. It's more, if I was War on Drugs, I would have taken more time to figure out how can I make the most out of my stage picture, my presence, everything just wasn't working for me. Whereas Luscious had even less to work with, and they outshined War on Drugs by a mile, man. They looked, oh man, you walked in there and they were playing. We got in there just a little bit late because they upgraded our seats. We ended up in the main area. And we got down there, they were already into their act, and I was like, holy cow, what are we watching? That's what you want. You want people to be like, I can't take my eyes off of it. What's going on? And then they delivered the goods with the music. Now, granted, I might not have liked their music, but I did. But visually, branding wise, they were on point. War on Drugs, not on point. The National, on point. It's the second time I've seen the National. Both times they used a similar lighting thing. I mean, this stuff costs money, what they do visually. But man, it's a national show. And from a branding standpoint, it was very memorable, very striking. The music, like I said, excellent and on point. And the reason one of the things I was thinking about with this is it had to do with how they marketed it. They marketed it, and I have a feeling Molly pointed this out. She said, I have a feeling that the National did not book the tour, that the War on Drugs people booked the tour because they did it as a double headline. The National and War on Drugs were equal size, and then under it with guest Lucius or Luscious. Did the bands get along? Yeah, absolutely. They had each other coming out during their sets, play with each other. So like when Luscious came out during the National, oh my God. And they did a cover of Bring on the Dancing Horses by Echo and the Bunnymen with these voices, these angel voices. It was like, what are we watching? It was so cool. But it was his double headline, and I think that was part of the problem too, because they were not an A-list. It's kind of like if you had who's not an A-list? If the National came out and Taylor Swift was the headliner, the National is awesome and cool, and you'd walk out of there going, they would be like Luscious, where you'd go like, wow. But the headliner is that step above, right? Taylor Swift is going to put on a show. No matter what the National does, they're not at the level of a Taylor Swift that they have the money to put on that show. But they would make the absolute most out of what they have. I saw David Byrne. This is a great example of it, I think. There was a show on PBS where I believe they shot it in Chicago, where they had bands. I saw Beck on there. I saw David Byrne came on. They shot it in what looked like just a big open room. They put folding chairs around kind of a horseshoe. If there were 30 people in there, I'd be surprised. So very intimate. And the band really didn't have lighting effects or anything. It would just be this stark, very warehousey looking room. The band would have its amps there, and they would play. I bet a lot of bands wouldn't, like big acts wouldn't do this because they don't get to have the lighting and the effects and all the things, right? Beck, no problem. David Byrne, no problem. They made the most out of it. David Byrne went up there and he wore one of like some funky suit. He changed 3 times, 3 different songs. He changed 3 different suits. His singer, his backup singer was this woman who visually, like, she wore this like pink suit that looked like it was made out of foam. It had spikes all over it. So she looked like one of those squish balls, but spiky. And her voice was like, bam. And you're watching this thing, you're like, oh my God, this show is amazing. It was literally, they just wore the costumes and the band was in gray with, I mean, minimal lighting, but visually super memorable. Beck, he made it look like you were in a bar. Like literally, they're a bar band with Beck in his white suit doing high kicks and that. And you were just like, oh my God, this is entertaining as hell. They made the most out of what they had. That's why I think I'm reacting that way to War on Drugs. They didn't. Here you're in this huge venue. You're at the United Center, and I feel like I'm watching a Jackson Browne cover band that thinks they're like that meme. They look like that meme to me, where you've got the guy drinking the champagne. He's like, wow, because he won a medal. And then as the camera pulls back further and further, you see that he's like 20th in line, and everybody up above him is looking back like, okay, you got a cardboard medal. That's weird. You beat one guy. I guess you could celebrate that, but try harder. That's exactly how it felt to me. And from a marketing and branding standpoint, it was one of those things that I took note of, because what we do with our branding, what we do with when we're marketing our stuff is, are we the War on Drugs or are we Luscious? Because we may not be the National. Where do we fall on that spectrum? And what are we doing with what we have? What are we doing with our shot to get your attention? Isn't that what marketing is about, is getting somebody's attention? What are we doing and where do we fall? When I was talking about doing an audit, do an audit. Am I putting the same old stuff that everybody puts out there? Okay. Am I a bar band? Am I Luscious? I mean, Luscious, I remembered. I went right up to the car when we were done. I put them right on my Spotify and started listening. I'm like, yeah, cool. They got me. What did that like on Spotify do? Well, it made it a much better chance that if I have an opportunity to buy something from Luscious, I'm going to. There you go. Oh, there we go. Pierre's here too. Hi, Pierre. I like that phrasing. What are you doing with our shot to get your attention? I like that too. I might copy that. Yeah, man, it is hard to audit yourself. I agree. That's why if you were listening to what I was saying earlier, and I put up a template. It's in the notes here. It's from Hootsuite. Um, I was talking about that, about how when you're doing it for yourself, there are going to be things you're going to skip over. You're also going to justify certain things or go, no, no, this was really good. It's hard. Do your best. But if you can do it and do it with somebody else, you know what? It can be incredibly beneficial. Pierre, my statistics friend, audits are not always a negative. They're not. Like a tax audit. It's about checking in on what you're doing with your shot. Yeah, man, exactly. When we were talking about auditing your social media, auditing what you're doing, it doesn't mean that it's negative. It might be that you found a hole that you could fix, or it might be that it's like, this is good. Keep doing this. Doesn't always have to be negative. All right. We're at that time. Thank you guys. Michael, Pierre, thank you for joining me. Hopefully other people will watch this later. It felt like like I was doing a full-on webinar about auditing your social media earlier. I'll be back next Saturday. I think my experiment failed. I tried to see if I had to promote it throughout the week, and apparently I do, because it even though the event went out there and people said they were coming, it dropped off at the end. So I will be trying a new marketing tactic next week. Same coffee, same place. All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a great week. Go get some marketing done. Come with questions next time, would you? It'll really help. Have a great day.